Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I am your host, JP John Poz. With me today, very special guest. I love that little bit of a sound effect going on there.
Yep.
He is, of course, the Rocketwheel himself. He's been in AEW, NWA, MLW, GCW, Championship Wrestling for Hollywood. I mean, geez, he's been everywhere. Mr. Jack Cartwheel. Jack, welcome to the two-man
Yes.
power trip. How you doing?
Yes. What's up? I'm doing great. How are you?
Very good. What's going on in your world?
Man, just had a killer leg workout earlier today. I wasn't able to find my lifting belt though, so I wasn't able to go as heavy squatting as I wanted to, but stuff's good. I slept in a little bit from the travel from Mexico this last weekend, so had a nice little sleep and ready to kill it this next weekend at GCW.
Love it. What's going on down there in Mexico? Was that AAA?
Yeah, so there was AAA on Saturday, and then a more of a festival on Sunday in Juarez. So AAA was in Tijuana on Saturday, and then we traveled overnight to Juarez, and it was tons of fun. And all the shows at the Crash in Tijuana, it's just electric there. Like the crowds are always awesome, and they love seeing some white boy lucha. So it's good.
Yes, yes. I feel like your style fits in like almost too perfectly with the lucha libre style, right?
Definitely, and it's because I definitely started with pro wrestling in 2019, well 20 at the very end of 2018, here in Sacramento, a lot more of a pro wrestling style. However, when I moved to Los Angeles for school, I started training with Lil Cholo and Mariachi Loco, who were doing lucha training. So I've probably had more lucha training than actual pro wrestling training. So it was easy to kind of change my style a little bit, and it definitely helps with my athletic background to do more lucha stuff rather than all your slams, all your suplexes and whatnot. So
Is that
yeah,
the style you like the most though? That like you can easily do that better, basically?
I would say yes. However, not in terms of how the matches are structured. I like to bring the lucha libre style of wrestling to an American psychology of wrestling, and it goes over very well in Mexico and fairly well in the U.S. But when you bring a lot more American psychology to Mexico, it blows their minds. It's like what's going on? Like they're not just randomly doing stuff. It's like no, we're we're setting stuff up and whatnot. So it's good.
Interesting you say that because a lot of people will complain about some of the American wrestlers having no psychology nowadays. So very
Oh
interesting you say that. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But it's even worse there.
True. Yeah. I mean, some of that stuff, obviously, they're just doing it and they kind of going through the motions. And some of the spots, I know some of the older wrestlers will complain. Some of the spots they do in Mexico, they're kind of leaping over each other. And, like it quote unquote doesn't make sense, but it's accepted down there. People just go with
Absolutely.
it.
I mean, a big part of it there is I feel like a lot of the Mexican crowds, they're there to like legitimately just go freaking have fun, go get drunk, a little borracho, have a good time, watch some dope wrestling, see some like just cheer, boo the bad guys, cheer the good guys, and they don't get into it as much as get into it as in like the psychology because they're there to have fun. They're not there
Right.
to write their blog.
Yep. Yep. So, did you know about Libre like before you got into the business? Like, was that something you liked?
Yeah. Well, I feel like 'cause unlike a lot of indie wrestlers and pro wrestlers, I really didn't grow up watching wrestling. It was not a big part of my childhood. It wasn't a big part of my teenage years until maybe around 16. So I fell in love with watching wrestling through PWG, through Lucha Underground and WWE as well. But so falling in love with PWG, it kind of came from like Bandito and Dragon Lee and Kota Ibushi were the guys who I first saw that and I was like, whoa, that's freaking sick, rather than very old school things. So yeah. I'm sorry, I forgot what the exact question was, but
Well, basically Lucha Libre, like how into it you were kind of coming into the business.
yeah, and it just the visuals of it's so awesome, and the there's a lot of pageantry to it too that sometimes can get lost in a American pro wrestling show, but definitely should be there, and it has to be there at lucha shows. Like their gear is freaking sparkles everywhere, and we love that. It's shiny. We
Yep.
makes it look good.
So where did you find like PWG and Lucha Underground and stuff to get into? Were you watching like online, or did you actually go to the shows?
Yeah, well, I would watch it online. I would watch like one of my favorite things to watch before football games, because I grew up playing football, were like just highlight videos and highlight videos. So there was a quick turn of like I'm watching these football highlight videos and I see like one from a PWG or like wrestling crazy videos like that. And not that that was necessarily like my very first introduction to wrestling, but that's where I saw those videos at first, just online, just on YouTube, getting hyped up and then seeing those, and I'm like, whoa, that's just as cool, if not cooler. Um, but in terms of when I really wanted to jump into wrestling, it was when I was watching WrestleMania 33 with Roman Reigns walking down that entrance way, and I was like, man, at a I was in a very interesting spot. I felt like mentally throughout high school, and I didn't know like what I wanted to chase, what I wanted to do. And I heard a very strong quote from a guy who I still follow, Gary Vaynerchuk. He's a big fan of wrestling also,
Yeah.
but he's like, you shouldn't want to chase a money, you don't want to chase fame, but like chase a feeling. And in that moment when I was watching WrestleMania with my friends, I was like, man, that's that feeling that I wanted, that I want to chase, that something that I can really dig my feet and my passion and my brain into it. How can I get there? And it's been an amazing journey so far, and hopefully one day I will get there.
What was it about Reigns that you like so much?
Oh, I think it was just the confidence. It was just like, oh, that's just walking down there and just the visual of it. And like he was that guy. He was the guy like back then, even in 33, when it didn't seem like it to many people. And it's not like I was a huge Roman Reigns fan at the time either, but it was just the visual of like, man, this everything's coming here for this moment. This is just exciting. You just want to see something go down, and I kind of put myself in those shoes as a point of view, and my phone screen for the longest time was that entranceway from the gates, or from the entranceway, and just looking at the crowd and how amazing and mystical and just over the top that could be. That's a feeling that I wanted to chase, and I'm learning throughout this process that feeling isn't the pinnacle. That's not the pinnacle of what I'm trying to do. That feeling happens every single week, and that feeling just gets better and better the more controlled and confident I can be in this journey. If that makes a little bit of sense, because
Yeah, absolutely.
at first I come around and the matches just go by because I'm so worried about other things. Now that I have a little bit more experience, I can take in those matches while I'm doing it that I wasn't able to before. I can actually process these things that are going on. Just a little bit of learning when all the veterans are telling me to slow down, and they're right, because I don't get that feeling when I'm so worried about what's going to happen next.
Yeah. What do you think about Reigns now? I feel like now he's even more in control, and he
Oh, way
really
more,
has hit his
way
stride.
more.
I mean, he's the
Yeah,
man. He's the quote unquote goat right now. Yeah.
man, it's wild. Yeah, I can see it. It's he's the head of the table. I love it. I think it's great. It's and what sucks is I hated the whole entire Shield. I wasn't a fan of any of the Shield people. I know I said 2016, but there's a little like I would hop in and out.
Right.
But because I was the biggest Ryback fan. Like super random that
Wow.
Ryback was my
Nice.
guy in like 2012 to 2014. Like what Ryback was my guy. And then this random group of people came in, tearing away his title shot. Finally, when I wanted to see him kick some ass, they took it away. So for the longest time, I had no love for any of the Shield people. And then, they came around eventually, obviously. But from being a Ryback fan to for them winning me over, I thought it was funny that like, oh, those three guys that destroyed my guy, they're actually the guys. So
Yes.
it's been interesting emotional journey.
With Ryback, what was it about him that you loved so much that made him your favorite wrestler?
The muscles, the power. I
Yep.
love the feed me more stuff. I always think that I'm a really hard worker, and I loved lifting, and I power lifted my whole entire life. And seeing that dude, I just wanted him to see him kick some butt. I thought it was simple. I thought it made sense, and maybe since I didn't know much about wrestling, like that's what I liked. But now that I know a lot more, maybe I'll go back and watch some of the things and be like, maybe I wasn't really getting it. But as a kid, like whatever speaks to you speaks to you. So yeah.
But a buddy of mine absolutely loved him and still loves him and wants to come back. He said he's very reminiscent of the Warrior. Doesn't necessarily have to be the greatest quote unquote worker in the world, but you connect with the fans, you do your power moves, like you look like a wrestler, you talk like a wrestler. So I mean, there's aspects that you got to give it to him for sure.
Yeah, definitely a lot of that. Like what you said, like Ultimate Warrior is one of those guys that
Yep.
I look up to as well, trying to emulate and uh be a lot like in my future.
You mentioned football before, by the way. I had to ask this.
Yes.
Where did you play and what position did you play?
Yeah, so I started in 6th grade. I played running back all throughout junior high and high school, and then I even played my university at Chapman University, Division 3. Uh all throughout all 4 years. Well, besides COVID, we had to take a year off from COVID. But my first day of training camp in college, we had a really good set of running backs, and I looked at our roster and I was like, "Man, I could be the 5th string running back, or I could be the 1st string fullback." And that second week of my freshman year, I switched from running back to fullback on that team because that's where the team needed me, and that's where I could actually help the team. I'm like, it's not going to help me being on bench, but I was able to start at fullback for the last 3 years of my career there, and it's been fantastic. It was awesome. I loved playing the game, and it's crazy that it's done now because throughout this wrestling journey, I was playing football the whole time as well for my school. There was one of the wildest moments that I don't think any other wrestler could really could relate to this. That I had a away game on a Saturday, and then I had a PWG show on Sunday. So I was hitting the bus going to my football game with this notepad right here, writing down spots, or thinking about ideas, being
Yep.
like, man, nobody else is doing this. Like that's crazy. That then I had the game. Think we won pretty good. I had to miss film the next day to go to PWG and have a killer match, and then came back on Tuesday, started going back to work at a football. So it's been fun, but this is my first year being able to wrestle in September, October, August, maybe a tiny bit of November, and it's wild because now I'm watching this game, and I'm like, man, I would be on that field every other year except for right now.
What a unique experience, like you're saying. You're on the bus one way, then going on the bus the other way to go to PWG after football's over. Pretty damn cool. I like that. Do you think football's getting you ready for wrestling? Because so many guys have gone. Obviously Goldberg, Wahoo McDaniel. I mean, there's a bunch of guys you can mention, Ernie Ladd, that went from football to pro wrestling.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of it is you'll hear it very often, but I think it's very true. It's like it teaches you the discipline to be on time, to not miss stuff, to work hard, and like you're only cheating yourself when you don't put the effort in. And I think football is an amazing sport that teaches you those things, and it allows me to kind of have those edges on a lot of other wrestlers who take certain things not as serious. And I think it should be taken seriously to an extent, like with just how you carry yourself and times and whatnot. So yeah, also just dealing with adversity, dealing with being sore, dealing with other people, being part of a team as well, being able to communicate what you need and how you're feeling. Yeah, so I definitely think football is very important, and a lot of people get trash talk from making that direct change from football to pro wrestling. But to me, I believe that's more of a when it's straight from the NFL to the WWE. Like I get that. It's
Yep.
like, okay, but do you actually like wrestling at that point? But so I think there's a lot that can be learned from football. Not everything translates to wrestling, but just becoming more mature, learning, taking criticism. There's just so many lessons that can be learned from that amazing sport, and I was fortunate enough to have a lot of experience in it.
It's crazy. When I watched you wrestle and see some of the stuff you do, which is amazing, I was always thinking, like, oh, this guy's got to have a gymnastic background or something. I didn't think football. I didn't know you
Yeah,
had a football background. So that's pretty crazy. Any gymnastic background at all or no?
yeah, definitely, definitely. So
Oh, okay.
my gymnastics career, very similar to kind of how wrestling was the last 3 or 4 years was. Um, I started like super young, like 5 or 6, and I did competed gymnastics, like not professionally, but like competitive gymnastics where you're going to meets, you're getting scores, you're getting medals and whatnot. From 5 all the way to maybe 16 or 17, and
Oh,
it
wow.
was after 17 when I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take all these skills that I got from gymnastics and apply them to wrestling because I feel like that's a little bit more cool. That's a little bit more fun. I loved competing in gymnastics, but I really wasn't that good at keeping my toes pointed every single time, bending my knees. I was cool at chucking crazy moves, but I wasn't good at doing those crazy things
Right.
with grace and with pointed legs and straight legs and pointed toes. But I was that guy who would try that skill that everyone else on the team was like, "What a Tkachev? That's insane!" It's when you fly over the bar from going forward to backwards, and I think that's a big thing that I got from gymnastics was being able to kind of just chuck some things and then being like, screw it, I know it's dangerous, but I have a lot of spatial awareness and be able to get over that mind barrier that you need to in order to do a certain thing. um but yeah, a lot of gymnastics background. I was much better at floor and vault than the other apparatuses. I was terrible at pommel horse. I have short arms and a big butt, and that's not good for pommel horse. I can't even swing around, so that was a big part that made me be like, oh, I don't want to do full gymnastics like that. But also in the same way that since 6th grade, I would have to take a break for 4 months during football season and kind of I was like going like this throughout the summer, drop down plenty, and then have to make up all those skills and all that training that I would have lost throughout that season. But I think it's more important to have that dichotomy of being able to do multiple sports rather than really fully set in on one thing because that's I don't think anything mm, is that important to like take over your whole life, you know?
Yep. It's so interesting though, because you got football, obviously pro wrestling, but the gymnastics. Does many
Mhm.
people do gymnastics and football? I wouldn't see that being a combination, except for Garrett Wilson. I just heard, who's the receiver for the Jets. I heard he did a lot of that kind of gymnastics and stuff. So that was
Oh,
the only
cool.
other time I've heard of like football and gymnastics kind of teaming up.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's another one.
Yeah,
But
he was
yeah,
doing it for like a lot of footwork and stuff for
yeah.
football.
It's a lot of it so for two like really specific things is obviously like a lot of the floor stuff. You see all those NFL guys, you see all the WWE guys. I feel like most people who are like pretty athletic can do a backflip just from the ability to jump and have that power. So I feel like that's one big thing, like the bouncing from floor, the bouncing from vault, the leg and spatial awareness. The second one, I would say from like the rings and pommel horse and P bars is a lot of the front shoulder and front chest directly applies to bench press. But bench press doesn't apply to those movements. So you have like a lot of strength built up right here that can help you bench and help you push. Like in football, you got to have your thumbs up and hands in. So you got that
Yep.
movement, and that's like tons of gymnastics when you're throwing your own body up. But yeah,
What a combination there. I love it. Gymnastics to football and into pro wrestling. You gotta love
yes.
that. Who's your football team? Who's your favorite?
the Dolphins fan.
Nice. They'll be playing the Giants next week and probably killing them because the Giants are absolutely terrible. Even though I love them, they're terrible this year. Dolphins actually look really good, minus
Man,
the Bills game.
about time. Yes, yes. It's been like a slow last 4 years. You've seen them kind of slowly like creep up, and I think now it's their time. They made the playoffs last year, and I'm just super excited to see where they go.
If Tua can stay healthy, I mean, look, you got
Yeah,
Waddle and Hill and that rookie A Chain. I mean, he's awesome.
man. Yeah, where did he
Mostert is
come
one of the
from?
fastest guys. Yeah, he's just a rookie that they got. They got the fastest team in the NFL by far.
Yeah, definitely.
So with wrestling, obviously, we love football here, but as far as
Yeah.
wrestling is concerned, I just wanted to bring this up. I know you saw it, but what the heck is the Elite doing? Are they making Adam Page and the Young Bucks? They making fun of you on their YouTube channel? What the hell's going on with the Elite?
Man, I don't know
Or
what
they're
to think
calling you
about.
out? Maybe it's
I don't know
that.
what to think about it. I mean, they know where to find me. I've emailed all of them at some point. I definitely messaged. So I don't know. I don't know. It could have been like I get it as the gag, and I think it's fantastic. There's two ways I could look at it. There's like, oh, I'm like, oh, if too many people start doing cartwheels, they'll forget about me. But I was like, that's so silly. Like, I love it. I'm looking at the guys that I fell in love with pro wrestling, like PWG, the Young Bucks. They're killing
Yep.
it always, and they're doing cartwheels. Like, hell yeah, do some cartwheels. And I don't know how to respond to it. How to really. I made like one little tweet, but I mean, I don't know. It seems very very exciting to me. I think it's awesome. I think that I can give them a lot of pointers. They can all do better cartwheels than that. My great grandpa Archibald Cartwheel invented it, so we'll make sure that they don't make my family name a joke, because it's not a
Right.
joke. It's a cartwheel. um,
That's
yeah.
so crazy though, right?
It is, and AEW is actually in an hour away tomorrow, and I would have hoped to be a part of it, but it is what it is. Um, but yeah, I think it's something to be said that I'm on a radar. I'm on many radars, and I shouldn't take it in a bad way. I should take it a great way. That they make tons of content. They need so much content every single week. So why not at one point see my stuff and then take a little people point of it, like Matt Hardy did a freaking cartwheel. That's amazing.
Yeah, I saw
It's
that. Yeah.
awesome. But then also there's the part of me that's like, dude, it has nothing to do with you. It's a move. It's a regular move. Like, it has nothing to do with you. Like, oh yeah, let's do a cartwheel. But I actually asked my wrestling trainer, my original trainer from Sacramento, Sir Samurai. I'm like, hey, like, did you see this? What do you think about it? And he's like, there are many worlds where that has nothing to do with you, but I don't think this is that world. I don't think there had to be some sort of thing. I don't know if it's calling me out, and I love it if it is. Please, let's bring it on. Let's do something. Like, are you kidding me? I would never want to miss that opportunity. But then also, everyone loves cartwheels. Everyone loves cartwheels. So it's not mine to have. It's not mine to have. But yeah.
I don't know.
What
I
do you think
felt
about it? What are your thoughts on it?
I know immediately. I'm like, wow, is he coming in? Is he a part of AEW? Because I know you wrestled for them before. I
Yeah.
immediately was like, wow, either you were coming back to ROH or AEW, but you're doing something with the Young Bucks, because that wasn't like I don't know, wasn't a subtle. You know what I mean? Sometimes they can be subtle when they're poking fun at Punk or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That wasn't very subtle at all. They kept saying cartwheel and doing cartwheels and stuff. I don't think that was too subtle.
Yeah, I don't know. Or just the look at the camera after the first one. The look on the facials, it wasn't an exciting, inviting cartwheel. It was a, come on, dude. Like, it was one of those. So I don't know. I don't know if
It's a
I should be juiced
challenge.
up or not.
Yes.
I'm juiced up either way. But
Do you know those guys at all or no?
so I've got to meet the Young Bucks a couple times. I saw them at Triple Mania, and I saw them at the AEW tapings. That's about as far as our relationship really goes. But it's not like I haven't seen them. But as far as actual communication, I like to be smart with who I'm communicating with at all times. You know, I don't want to be that guy who's like trying to stick my hand into places that it doesn't belong, but also I want to be respectful and of course introduce myself. But as far as just more than just an introduction, there hasn't been much. But I've definitely met them, which is great.
So I know you wrestled Takeshita before. I think Brian Cage and the Acclaimed in AEW.
Yes,
Any
sir.
interest? I mean, obviously there's interest there, but do you think that the interest goes both ways to bring you back? Because this kind of seems like maybe you're got to be on the radar or something.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there's so much interest from me. Like I just graduated university. And 3 months ago, I spent the last month in Japan. So right now is my now or never. You know, like I need to be able to do this full time if I want to make something out of myself the way that I want to. And the AEW is an amazing opportunity to go and do that. If I know that we've had talks in the past, but nothing has been very, very legitimate and serious in terms of like contracts or and whatnot. However, I know that they're a fan. I see that. When I was at other tapings, I've met wrestlers who know me that I didn't even necessarily know them, which is insane. That they're to be in those areas, and I know a lot of the producers like me. So I do strongly believe it's a matter of time, and as long as I keep on grinding, keep on doing my thing, and not let up the pedal, it's just a matter of time. But as of right now, there's no actual steps in the works for that to have made sense for them to drop
Yeah.
a little cameo, a little egg right there. But I think that'd be sick. Like maybe one day on another one of their shows, they're doing cartwheels. All of a sudden, I'm like, whoa, that's not how you do it, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, you got to go in and teach them, right?
Yeah,
That would be awesome.
yeah. But huge shout out though, I guess,
Yes.
in a way.
When you look at it, right? I mean, obviously, Jack Cartwheel doing the cartwheels. Where does that come from? I mean, is it just that you love doing cartwheels? Or like, where does the name come from? Where does the cartwheels like? Where does that emanate? I know, obviously, it's the gymnastics background, but where does that actually come from fruition as far as being a wrestling name?
Well, it comes from like when I enter a ring, when I enter a match, my goal is to make the fans like forget about their regular life, just have a great time, just have fun. And I'm thinking like, what else is more fun than cartwheels? Like what else is more silly, whimsical, a way for you to like forget whatever is really going on in somebody's life? I'm like, let me just do cartwheels. And then there's that aspect of it. There's an aspect of it brings in a lot of fans who don't know about wrestling. Like I'm sure you may have not have heard of Kota Ibushi, but you've seen a cartwheel, and maybe someone who's not a wrestling fan can see that and they can love it and they could get into it. It's a taunt at the same time. It's a celebration at the same time. It's a pose at the same time. So there's a lot of really good things about it that I've been finding out. In terms of like how it started, my it is very close to my real name. I don't know if I should say my real name, but it's very close to it. So
Right.
that's the actual answer.
Hmm.
But also growing up with my actual name, a lot of people would call me Cartwheel growing up. So there was a big aspect of that. But when I first got into wrestling, another person who in my local scene had the name Jack Hammer, which is what I really wanted to be, but somebody else had it. So I was like, you know what, this could work too. And apparently the name is a lot better to some people than I would have thought.
Yeah, Jack Cameron might be a little bit too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
But,
that I mean, we could make it work. We could make it
yeah,
work
yeah, you
somehow.
could. I don't know. I like cartwheel better because you can do cartwheels and people will be like, "That's cartwheel." You know what I mean? Yeah, it
For
works
sure.
easier. Yeah,
For
easier
sure.
to
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, that's another big thing is I whenever I enter a show, I want to make sure that people leave remembering my name or at least leave remembering what I did. And so doing cartwheels is like the easiest way to be like, this is who I am. This is what I do. It was awesome. Come back next time. Because out of any wrestler, your main goal is to have the audience come back and the audience love you. So I even got some really great opportunities from my cartwheels through through a show called Lucha Vavoom, where there was like celebrities at the show, and they loved the cartwheels so much that I got to like go to a little party with them, and it was sick.
Oh, awesome. Any celebrities you're
Yeah,
allowed to mention who they were? Are you allowed to
yeah.
mention?
So it was Whitney Cummings.
Whoa, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah. Obviously super famous comedian. Yep. And
yeah.
actress.
It was awesome. It was at a show called Lucha Vavoom. It's a lot more of a fun show where it's half wrestling, half burlesque. And she was there, and she like tagged me in a photo. It was like, Jack Cartwheel is my new hero, because like she was just loved the cartwheels. And
Yeah.
then I like of course DM'd her like, oh, thank you so much. And then she's like, oh my gosh, we loved you. It was her, and then there's a YouTuber named Hannah Stocking, and yeah, so she invited me to like she had like a pool party for the showing of her roast, and I got to go and have fun and hang out with these people. Like John Lovitz was there, Steve-O. It was insane. It was really cool opportunity. But if it wasn't for the cartwheels, I wouldn't have gotten over with the non-wrestling fan the way that I
Yes.
did.
Yes, that's awesome. Did you do
Yeah,
any cartwheels at the party though? I think
I
that's an
did.
important.
I did
Oh, you
plenty.
did.
Yes. Yes. I there's a YouTuber named Jeff Wittick, and he put a video of my cartwheel on his story. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Nice. God, man,
Yeah.
that's pretty damn cool. Like, you kind of not fooling around, but you're doing your thing in the ring, and then all of a sudden they take notice.
It
So
it, it worked. Yeah.
so Jack Hammer gets, move out of the way. It's never gonna happen. Jack Cartwheel. Yes, perfect. Yes. When you look at it though, it's like, man, you're kind of everywhere. Like you're saying, Lucha Room, we're talking about GCW, a little bit here and there, AAA. How was your time with NWA? Because that seems like a little bit of a difference, but they do have a lot of good junior heavyweights and a lot of guys that are kind of, like Colby Corino, Kerry Morton, a lot of good talent down there. Homicide, even obviously not young talent, but great older talent there as well.
Oh yeah, like NWA is amazing. I read a really interesting book about like the history of pro wrestling, and like NWA is the first thing that like took people away from the whole Carney one champion, one champion, one champion. And like NWA is the OG of it from the 50s and 60s. And it was amazing to be able to wrestle at that such a prestigious promotion. And then at the same time, I had all these mouths in my ear, all these people telling me like, oh dude, your stuff's not gonna work there, they're not gonna like you, they won't get it. And it was felt amazing to be like, shut up, watch this. And I went in and I did my regular stuff, and I think I got over great with the crowd, with this crowd that I was told was super insanely hard to get over, that they only like the old stuff. They won't get it with your flippy dippies and whatnot. Like, but what does it mean? But I was like, watch this, and I did my stuff. But it's more than just doing the moves. Of course, obviously, I can't tell you everything about all those secrets. But it was amazing to be able to be there and have agents as part of the matches, and making sure that everything you do is important, everything that you do is a part of this story that you're telling. And one of the best things that happened was after the show, Sal the Pal, he came up to me. He's like, man, that I always knew it. I always knew it. You are more than this name. You are a move. You are the character. You are the selling. You are the story of it. You are the fighter. And like it was amazing because um just before having people be like, no, it won't make sense there, then right after them being like, yes, now that I see it, now that I see the whole part of it, I get it and I love it. And hopefully I'll be back there soon. I don't have anything in the actual works right now, but my experience there was great, and I think that it would make sense for me not to be back. I kind of had my own little story arc in that one weekend, where first night I won the opportunity. Second night I had an amazing match fighting, trying to get that title, but it didn't happen. And let me take some time to build myself back up to their audience when I just had that flash out of nowhere. Now it's time to really build up the story that I had that opportunity. I missed it. Let me get that again. So yeah.
Yeah, you won that Jubilee match and became the number one contender. You fought Colby Corino next night and got a tough loss, but that's a nice little push there on obviously the 75th anniversary. It
Oh,
was a huge show. Yeah.
so huge, so amazing. Yeah, it's really awesome. And the venue at the Chase was so nice, and such a legendary place that I didn't I wasn't too educated on, and someone handed me a shirt that said wrestling at the Chase, and it was like that there's been wrestling there for the last 50, 60 years, and it's an honor and opportunity to be a part of that and be a part of that locker room too, with a lot of people that I've seen on TV and people I've seen on off TV, just online, and be like, oh, you're that guy. Then also there was definitely some misconceptions. I was calling somebody the wrong name for like pretty much the whole weekend until like the last day. He's like, hey man, just by the way. I was like, my bad, you look so much like this other person.
You can't say who. I'm guessing you don't want to
No.
embarrass anybody. That's great, though. Hey, my buddy, Dr. Tom Pritchard, the world-renowned trainer to the stars. He's an agent for NWA, and I don't know, he was liking a lot of stuff from that show for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it was amazing. He came up and talked to me for, I mean, maybe 20 seconds, but that's way more than anybody else has talked to Dr. Tom Pritchard, you know?
Right.
And he was like, just where were you trained? And I was like, Supreme Pro Wrestling in Sacramento. But I mean, he's like, okay. But just the fact that he asked, and the fact that he got to watch my stuff, and I was also like, hey, any pointers for me? He was like, no, you're good. I was like, well, you know, a little bit more than that, but just the fact that I got those eyes was amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Do you get a lot of that? Not from him, but from like other old school guys, like you're saying, like, oh, flippity dippity stuff. Do you get that? Like, oh, come on, because they don't really know you and maybe haven't seen it, but they see, oh, Jack Cartwheel, this guy's going to be like those other guys with no psychology, just doing high
Mm.
risk moves. Do you get that a lot?
Um, Honestly, not too much right now. I feel like a lot of the work that I do in AAA is pretty similar in that style, and I feel like I don't receive that much negativity from older guys. Like maybe it's there, but I don't see a lot of it.
I know
Um,
Conan put you over on his podcast, K100. He
yes,
was saying that you're great and stuff, and obviously he's the booker. I mean, he books you down there, so obviously he knows. But that's pretty high praise.
yeah, definitely. Conan's amazing. Conan has been so much help, and I have such an awesome opportunity to be under his wing in that sort of way that he first saw me wrestle at that same the same venue in Tijuana, but not necessarily for AAA. But he saw my match, and he like called me up the next day, and he's like, "Look, like we might not be part of that promotion anymore in the future, but I want you to come with me instead of with them." And I had to make a decision, and I almost made the wrong decision for sure. I almost made the wrong decision, but he's been so amazing, so cool, very insightful, very smart in his planning and what he's doing, and uh, you know, it's just really cool to have a legend like that by your side. You know, it's one thing to see a legend in passing and have their support, but to know that at any moment I can text him, I can call him and stuff, and be able to drop his name, that I'm one of his guys, has so much power all over the world. Where if I'm trying to pitch myself to somebody, I can be like, I'm one of Conan's guys, and they're like, oh, okay, for sure. So definitely really cool.
You're definitely on his mind because I remember Disco was asking him something about like, give me some guys in AAA, American guys, some of
Mm.
those guys that are good. And you were one of the first guys he mentioned, so obviously you're on his mind as far as AAA, which is great.
Awesome. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, I had that amazing opportunity in August where at Triple Mania in front of 17,000 people. It was me, Vikingo, Daga, and Mike Bailey having a four-way match like in Mexico City. That like it doesn't get better than that in the lucha libre world. So except for maybe winning, but it was amazing time, and to have that opportunity, I know that there's a lot of belief in me, and I won't let them down.
Is that something, maybe the next chapter, like the wins will start coming. Like you got to get over, you'll get there, and then start building up some wins, right? I mean, I guess that's the
Yes,
progress.
yes, I believe so. I mean, there's got to be some reason that I was in that match. It didn't that's not my last time in that space and at that level.
When you look at Vikingo, I mean, obviously he's one of the best. Is he, you think, the best high flyer in the world, or you don't really rank guys like that?
Uh, Great question. Great question. I'm not sure if he's the best, but he's definitely in the, it's either him or Will Ospreay. So it's honestly it pisses me off. It sucks. He's like, I'll see him before a show. He does like the actual cartwheel from the corner to the middle of the ring on the top rope. And I've been training that for months now, ever since I saw him do it. I'm like, man, if I could do that, if I could do that one, that'd be sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, it probably might be him. He's a dog. He was, I would say he's at the same, he was at 22 where I am right now at 22, and now he's 25 and he just let it progress. So I feel like if I stick to my guns, continue doing what I do in these next 2 or 3 years, I could be at that same level that he is right now.
When you look at a guy like that and just, amazing, they say the next Rey Mysterio, which might be one of the highest praises you can get for a lucha libre guy,
For sure.
and especially a Mexican wrestler. But when you look at that, do you aspire like to be that, or do you want to be like, I don't know if that's the style. I want to be more American style. You know what I mean? Like, do you want to be more American style mixed in with the lucha libre, or do you aspire to be like the next Vikingo, if you will?
Ooh, that's a really great question too, because I mean, I do aspire to be a lucha libre champion, because I feel like that's very very cool outside of being able to be WWE, AEW, New Japan. Next thing's lucha libre, and it's like I would put being a AAA champion above being the champion of many 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 independent promotions. So I'm like, that would just be so cool to go to be a champion in Mexico, seeing like that they have a lot of the posters, like lunch boxes and stuff. Kids this past weekend would just tap me on the shoulder, and I would turn around, they would do a cartwheel, and I'm like, let's go. That's it right there. That's a that's a whole lot of fun. But yeah, I'd want to be like it all. But the only times when I think maybe I should do a little bit more American is when I'm blown a lot. I'm like, damn, I could have really just done that instead of all this at that moment. So there's times where it comes through my mind, but um, I want to do lucha until I can do more. So yeah.
More selling though, right? Than some of the lucha libre guys. I feel like sometimes the selling isn't there. It's just bing bang boom
Yes.
next spot. In American
That,
style, you want to slow it down and sell.
that's what I was gonna say a lot with Vikingo is he gets the selling the way that American wrestling happens, and that's also why he above of being one of the best high flyers, being able to do all those insane things, is like when he sells, like it's awesome, because uh he does all this crazy stuff, and he's earned that right to be like, "Ugh," and he has that, yeah, he has that dog in him that comes out in the matches, and then that right at the right moment where you want it, and you're like, oh yes, he's making that comeback, and just so much fire in him too, and so big fan of that guy.
He is amazing. He's one of the best today, for sure. When you look at Crash, right, and AAA and stuff, obviously no more Crash, right? I mean, that's in the rear view because AAA. I mean, you can't do both, right? I mean, I think
Yeah.
there's a pretty good stance on basically saying, hey, you work here or you work there, right?
Yeah, that's basically it right there.
There's a little bit of an issue with them. But who else in AAA do you like working with? And maybe we might not know, or maybe like Aramis or something that we're not as familiar with as far as some of those guys that you love working with.
Yeah, I mean, you just named one right there. Our Aramis is so freaking talented, and I don't get it. I don't get it in terms of like you see him and you see his body, and like he doesn't look that insanely athletic, and then you see the things that he can do and his presence, and it's amazing. So I was like, Aramis, Ray Horace is always awesome. I love working with Mr. Iguana and Nino Hamburguesa, doing like comedy spots there. Those are fun. Gringo Loco is all over the world as well. Those guys are very fun to work with. Commander, of course, if he ever comes back. But Laredo Kid, of course, as well. All these guys, all those guys get it, and they're amazing. And there's a reason why the back of AAA is on a lot of their shoulders. And yeah, Penta's amazing too, but I
Oh,
haven't
of
been able to
course.
work with him too much. I've like a little bit here and there, but once I get there, I'll get there.
Now I've talked to Dorian Roldan, of course, the big
Mm,
boss there. I've talked to him a few times. He kept
awesome.
mentioning about basically kind of wanting to break through in the US. I know that you guys in AAA have been there a few times. Do you think with you a part of it, could that even help even further break? You know what I mean? Like have a US star, an American star, and kind of break into AAA as far as not just maybe teaming with AEW, but really doing their own separate shows in basically, maybe big Mexican areas or big Spanish areas, but having a USA American wrestler in with AAA stars coming to America.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be awesome. And that's been the story, and that's been the idea the last couple of years, and especially this year, that they're having American producers coming over. They're having people from maybe a Netflix or HBO show coming in. They have their stuff being produced on Space TV right now in Mexico, but how cool would that be for it to be available here just as easy? It would be amazing. It would be really cool. And being able to be that white guy that comes out there as part of that culture is would be really cool. And I think it would help a lot more, make people accept lucha libre more once it's in the US. You had Lucha Underground 10, 15, 20 years ago with their success here, but those shows were produced in LA, like in LA. So I'm not sure if their goal is to do that again or just do the same lucha libre that's happening in AAA, but have shows in the US, because they've done a show at Arizona State University last year. They did a show in St. Louis last year. So hopefully that continues, and whoever the directors and producers they're working with can see that value in me, that I can help them just appeal to a lot of people here.
Kind of remind me a little bit, not really style wise, but just as far as being a name, obviously Jack, but being in AAA and being an awesome high flyer. Jack Evans is another great guy. Have you ever wrestled Jack? Or, and I know obviously you've been in the same arena as him, but have you wrestled him or no?
Yeah. So one time I had a singles match with Jack Evans at a VWE show, which runs in Stanton, California, right by Orange. It's ran by Lil Cholo, and yeah, we had an awesome singles match. It was the main event of the show. The only issue really with it was the people right before us went like legitimately 30 or 40 minutes in some like really, really long match, and it was like a really, really long show. And by the time me and Jack Evans came to do all our insane, really cool stuff, we planned a main event match. It was sick. But then like the crowd really wasn't there for it because they were tired. They were done.
Yep.
The
Yep.
ropes were done too. Let me tell you, the
Wow.
ropes were
Yeah,
shaking
not
like
good.
that. But yeah, it was awesome, awesome match. I think there was a little bit of like some aggression in the beginning too of like who's the real Jack, what's really going down there, and all love for all the stuff that he's done, and it looks amazing, and I've seen the double moonsaults from the cage, Phoenix splash from the cage. It's amazing, and hopefully we'll do it again someday. But yeah, I've had some experience with him, and really cool, really awesome guy, and yeah.
He's kind of one of the OGs. I mean, he's been doing it, God, 20 plus years. He's one of the OGs of that really, not really indie style, but that just like crazy balls to the wall, high flyer style, which has become so popular nowadays.
Yes. Yeah, and I saw one tweet that it was like tag a wrestler who wrestles like renters do. And then the first video was Jack Evans doing the double moonsault off the cage. It's like, yeah, that's sick. That's what we want right there, to get that grittiness out.
I know some like the old timers will complain about that style, but don't you think a lot of the fans nowadays want that style? You know what I mean? They're kind of clamoring for it. That's why it's kind of more in vogue. Obviously, like you're a little bit different because obviously you got the psychology a little bit more in the selling, but don't you think it's a little bit more in vogue with that style? That's what the fans are kind of asking for.
Definitely to an extent, and especially online and social medias, it's hard to tell a 10-minute wrestling match story in a 1-minute clip of your match and
Well,
highlights.
that
So
too. Yeah.
there's
Yep.
definitely certain things that go viral easily than or easier than other things. But then I still think at its core, if you really want fans and if you really want people, it can never be only just that. but of course they are asking a little bit more from it, because if you're a promoter, I want to have the guy on the show who's going to produce a video that a fan takes that gets 30,000 views. Now all of a sudden, speed stick wrestling is a household name because you saw a random video from Barstool of this dude doing a crazy move. So I do think that fans like it a little bit more, and they're getting to it, but at the core, you still need that emotional connection.
It's a nice little buffet though to have, all the different guys. Like WCW had the awesome cruiserweights back in the day, to
Yes.
go along with the Hogans and the Stings and everything else
Mm.
with the
Yeah.
storytelling. But as we wind it down here, we'll head towards the finish. I did see you were in Japan as well, and you mentioned you were in Japan. Where were you working in Japan? Were you in All Japan?
So I got to do one show with All Japan, which was really awesome, but that wasn't on my schedule originally. I went over there for GLEAT. It's either GLEAT or GLEAT. But it's the gimmick of it is it's great, but with an L instead of a R.
Yep.
And it's ran by Sema and Kaz Hayashi, and it's owned by the people who used to own Noah, and they sold Noah and started GLEAT. And it was amazing. It was awesome. I did 5 shows total in 20 days. I got to go to Disneyland. I got to go to Osaka and Sapporo all in this 20-day span. And it was amazing. And all the wrestling knowledge that I got to go watch a couple of shows as well since I was there already. Yeah, it was so much fun and really cool. And I could definitely expand more on that. But it was definitely a feel of so much legitimacy and professionalism, and it was just great to have that opportunity to go and be like, dude, all this hard work, the stuff that I've done has gotten me to this place where I can go to Japan and freaking wrestle and get paid for it. Like that's just amazing in itself.
That is cool. And the All Japan thing, that's awesome. Wasn't even on the docket. They're like, damn, this guy's so good. Let's throw him into an All Japan show.
Well,
Pretty
so
damn
yeah,
cool.
I'm not sure about the actual story about how I got on that show, but one day I opened my WhatsApp and Sema is texting me like, "Hey, do you want to be on this other show?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, I do." It was at Corgan Hall too, and so it was
Oh, wow. I
awesome. And
didn't
it was
realize that. That's awesome.
yeah, it was kind of like a GLEAT team versus like I'm not sure if they were necessarily All Japan people, but the Saito twins. And yeah, so it was cool.
Wow, very cool. How was Disney over there?
Oh, it was great. It was really so. I'm actually I'm a pretty big Disney guy in terms of amusement parks. I love amusement parks. So like Disney Sea was really insanely cool. Like their version of California Adventures was sick in terms of like just how well themed the lands are, how easy the transitions are. But then Disneyland, it wasn't like disappointing, but I would say our Disneyland is better than their Disneyland. But like Disney Sea, that was something completely different. That was like right on the water of the ocean when you go to the back of the park, and just very cool. I was only able to go for maybe for 4 hours on at Disneyland because
Oh, damn.
I got the like night pass. So it was like you could go after 5 to 9. So
Yes.
I didn't
Yep.
get to go there the whole day, but like walking around, I was like, you know what? I think our Disneyland's a little bit better.
Damn. I've only been to Disney World, obviously in Orlando, but I've been, God,
Mm.
like 20 something times. It's a crazy amount of times. Never been to Disneyland, though. Heard that is awesome.
Oh yeah, really cool here in California. And I've been to Disney World once, but when I was 12 with my dad for like a work conference, and
Uh,
tons of fun. But I'd love to go to Disney World again soon. Maybe sometime if I'm in Orlando.
yeah,
But
somebody
yeah.
down in Orlando start booking. Any interest in any companies down in Orlando? Maybe within NXT or WWE? Any interest there?
Yeah, of course. Of course, there's tons of interest. I would love that. We're working on it for sure. I've sent tons of emails, and I may have gotten a couple emails back. And now that I've heard that they're doing indie tryouts once again, I know that I'm gonna do whatever I can to make sure I at least get in front of their eyes in person, and also make sure that I'm a different breed by then. Like I think I'm doing good now, but I before I step in front of those people, I want to make sure like I'm him, and if I'm not him at that moment, then I'm glad to take all that information in and learn what I need to do to change and stuff. I can't put stilts in my shins, so I can't be 6 feet tall, but I'm sure I could build 10 more pounds of muscle or something like that. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. I mean, that would be an awesome experience just to go learn from the tryout and maybe even, get signed. But even if you don't get signed, like you said, learn something and pick up something and then add that to your repertoire.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Give me some dream matches, just a couple that you want to have, guys you haven't wrestled before.
Yeah. So my favorite wrestler of all time is Dolph Ziggler, and now that he actually just got released, like maybe that's something
Yeah.
that could happen. So Dolph Ziggler's like my number one. He's my guy. I want to be like him in terms of selling, in terms of looking like a wrestler, in terms of carrying yourself with confidence, but still being a face, but with confidence instead of arrogance in a way. So I mean, Dolph Ziggler, Kota Ibushi, which is somebody else that I've had the pleasure of meeting Kota Ibushi at the GLEAT show in August, and he actually watched my match, and I went to the back. He was like, "It's cool stuff," and I was like, I didn't,
That's
I played
awesome.
it
Yeah.
off pretty well. I was like, "Oh, thank you, man," but I was like, "Oh no way." So that was really cool. I mean, those two. Matt or Nick Jackson would be amazing too. The Young Bucks, not only because of what they do in the ring and how good they are in the ring, but also just what they've done for this industry in terms of giving all the people who are like me, we're all trying to be like them and emulate what they were able to do throughout the 2000s and 2010s, and so just being able to be in the ring with those guys would be amazing.
Man, that's it would be a hell of a match. And maybe they were asking for it. We don't know. Maybe they were
Right,
asking for it as
right.
well. You're kind of like a human highlight reel. So if somebody were going to go on YouTube and search you, give them some good matches, that you've had, some of your favorites that people should check out.
For sure. Yeah. Unfortunately, like I don't have when I look up my own name on YouTube, the stuff that pops up, I don't think really represents what I can do. And it sucks because like you'll have a certain match and you never know what match is the match that people are gonna see. And so sometimes when you look up people's name and you're like, oh, what is that? Like that is not. But Jack Cartwheel versus Commander is on AAA's YouTube show. That match was amazing. Probably one of my favorite matches ever. Me versus Tetsuya Izuchi from this last month's Japan show from GLEAT is amazing. If you want to check me out from AEW Dark, if you look up Jack Cartwheel Dark, I'm on the shows in Stockton and Sacramento that maybe like in the middle of those, but definitely some of those matches. I'll pop up a lot with I have a couple matches on there from like other promotions, and it sucks that when you look up my name on YouTube, some of those are the matches that pop up, and I know I'm a lot better than those matches. So uh YouTube's interesting with that.
Got to check you out everywhere you are. So what's next for you?
So this weekend I'm going to GCW in New Jersey. Then it's just a lot of wrestling coming up. That weekend's the next weekend's another GCW, and then home in Sacramento, and then the weekend after that I'm going to Toronto. The weekend after that I'm doing stuff in LA. I think the weekend after that I'm doing stuff in St. Louis. So just a lot of traveling and just a lot of trying to grow my name, grow a brand. I think that's something that I could be doing a lot better in terms of like a consistent brand and consistent colors, a color wave that I could keep on with that I love and can stick with. But in terms of like what's next for me, I'm trying to just monetize this and do it as much as I can. I love doing this, and I think it's gives me amazing, insanely cool opportunities every single weekend. But in order for me to like fully be successful in it, I need to put some pen to paper. So that's what I'm focused on, and that's what I want to do soon.
Love it. Where can everybody follow you? Social media and otherwise.
Yeah, so probably my Instagram I'm probably the most active on. It's at Jack Cartwheel, all one word. There's a link in there if you for shirts and stuff. I have like a website that I can just mail you stuff. There's Twitter, which is Jack Cartwheel as well. And just recently, I've kind of been posting a lot more on Facebook, which is Jack Cartwright on Facebook. So
Whoever that
yeah,
is.
I don't know who that is, but
Yeah, whoever
that's
the
where
hell
I
that
post
is.
my wrestling stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Good stuff
Mhm.
there. But Jack Cartwheel, the human highlight reel, if you will,
So
the rocket wheel. Thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it.
there we go. Of course. Thank you so much. It's been a blast.